5 minutes. And we are live. Hey guys, we are in my kitchen for the first time in a very long time. So hello homemakers and everyone on the chat or on the replay. On today's episode of Homemaking with Purpose, we're going to be diving into the pantry staples you should never run out of. The 12 items you should never run out of. And we're going to see whether or not I've got them on my pantry shelf. And hopefully you can run around and see whether or not you've got them on your pantry shelf. And we are continuing our series on lessons I've learned from YouTube creators. And this particular YouTube creator tonight is my sister from another mister, Mary at Mary's Nest. Now let me walk around here just real quick to see if you guys can hear me okay. So if you guys can hear me okay, give me a thumbs up. Because I was trying to use my wireless mic and I was having a little trouble. So let me just see in the chat here. So can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Just let me know whether or not you can hear me. Okay, got a thumbs up. Great. All right. Okay, then, so I got a thumbs up. You guys can hear me okay? So, welcome to Homemaking with Purpose. I am your host, Denise Jordan. And as always, tonight's episode is brought to you by Apron Diva, Pretty and Practical. We believe that an apron can be a homemaker's best accessory. And the featured aprons tonight include this one, our apron that we call Grace. It says thankful. And people have been asking when we were going to get that back in stock because some people said, you know, some of us are thankful all year round, not just at Thanksgiving. So they just came in on Monday, I believe. And so Blue Skies has them up on the site. And then our Lynn Slate Blue Steak Pantry apron is also back in stock as well. So you can check us out at www.aprondiva.com. And before we get started, two things. One, if you have a question, hold it until the very end because I can't see from here to there, so I can't see the question. But once I'm done with the content, Blue Skies can put it in there and let me know. And then, oh, I got my phone set on silent. So I guess I better get that over here so that I can look at it when she sends me a message. But I have a surprise for you guys. My husband went fishing today, and I tell you what, my husband always makes groceries. You should see what he caught today. Honey, can you bring those fish in? He's just going to bring in part of them. They are huge. I couldn't believe it. Hun? Honey? You can bring them now. He was out in the garage waiting so that he can get them situated so that he can relax because he's been out on the boat most of the day. So he'll be bringing those in to show those off. And I think you will be pretty much surprised. And I was really kind of excited about tonight's show. And I'll tell you why. I think I do a pretty good job of prepping. I feel like my pantry, my prepper pantry is in pretty good shape. But you guys know I did stop prepping for a while. I started using from my prep. I felt like I didn't need to continue that. Okay. Come on, just try not to drip on the counter. I got it all washed up. Look at these. These are just two. How many did you get? They caught a lot of fish. They caught a lot of fish. Him and a partner. So they can't see this, but hold that one up. This is just a few of the fish that they caught. All right, because I don't want you to drip on the camera. He always laughs at me. Now that's going to go in the laundry. Weren't those fish huge though? Like I said, my husband always makes the groceries. And I know Blue Skies is on. She's been waiting to get him to take her fishing. He's going to take her fishing on Friday. So, okay, let me go ahead and get started because there are people on that did not come on to see me talk about my husband's catch of the day. So I was watching my friend Mary at Mary's Nest. I call her my sister from another mister. I was watching her latest video, 12 pantry staples you should never run out of. So I thought, I wonder what they are, and do I have those staples on my shelf? And the first item that she talked about was flour, all-purpose flour. And so I checked my shelf, and I do have all-purpose flour, and I've got several bags of all-purpose flour, so I'm not too concerned about that. And what can we do with all-purpose flour? Well, we can make all kinds of things. Quick breads like biscuits and muffins and pancakes and waffles and all those kinds of things. You can also use flour to thicken things if you need to make gravy, all kinds of stuff. But she also suggested that we have some bread flour. And I have 2 bags of bread flour. I only have 2. And as you guys may recall, I picked those 2 up last week or the week before at a mini grocery haul. So if we remember what Granny Karma says, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So the first time I open this one up and make some bread, I'm going to be down to 1. So I probably should pick up some more bread flour. However, I do have several bags of all-purpose flour, and I can make bread with my all-purpose flour if I need to. Now, whereas the bread flour does give you a better result, my all-purpose flour will work, and both of these are fairly shelf-stable. What I learned from Mary is that the bread flour has a little bit more protein in it than does your all-purpose flour. They both will have had some of the nutrients removed, but they're pretty good, and they're more shelf-stable. So there's that. So I've got 2 bags of the bread flour and then quite a few bags of the all-purpose flour. So item number 2 of things that we should have on our shelf is yeast. And I have some yeast. I have a 1 jar of this active dried yeast that's on my shelf. And I've got a jar in the fridge that I've been using out of. And then I've got several packets of like the little single serve packets of dry yeast. So typically you would use 1 packet for a couple of loads. So I've got that. And you would use the yeast in bread making and things like that. Sourdough, it helps to make your bread rise. Now the other yeast that she mentioned was like wild yeast that you use in sourdough starter. And she said you should have some sourdough starter. Well, I don't have any of that. I haven't had any sourdough starter in my house in probably 30 years. And that's when a few of my friends at work were making it and they were sharing it and all that kind of stuff. And you had to feed it and all that. I've not had any, but I am interested in learning to make sourdough bread. So probably over the next week or so, I will be learning how to do that. And then I'll have some sourdough starter here as well. But no sourdough starter at this time. Let's see, what else did she say about that? So that's it. Oh, and I will link Mary's video in the description box below so that you can check that out. She is just so informative. She knows so much about all these different things and why you should have them and what they do. So you'll definitely want to watch her video as well. It is definitely worth watching. So item number 3 on the list was baking powder. So I thought, okay. Now, when I heard her say that, I knew I had baking powder. But I thought, how many do I have? So when I went out to pick up a couple of things, I picked up a can of baking powder because I knew the one on my shelf was about empty. I mean, there's probably 1 or 2 good tablespoons left in this can. And I did have, so I picked up a new one. This new one that I picked up, the best by date is May of 2024. But I got to thinking, certainly I've got more baking powder. And I've got another container where I keep those things. So I went and I looked, and I had about 6 cans of baking powder in that container. But here's the thing. One of the ones I pulled out, this one, the use by date was August of 2021. Most of the other ones had a use by date of like March or April 2022. So one of the things that Mary talked about in her video is that you really want to try to make sure that your baking powder is fresh. Now, can you use it after the use by date? Certainly you can, but it may not be quite as active. It may not work quite as well. What do we use baking powder for? Well, if you're making biscuits and other kinds of quick breads, you need baking powder. And I remember once I was talking to one of my nephew's girlfriends, and I was telling her some things that she needed to gather in for her family. And I said, well, do you have like flour and baking powder? And she didn't have any flour and she didn't have any baking powder. Well, she didn't bake. And I said, well, you should have those things in case you need to make biscuits or pancakes and those kinds of things. Well, she doesn't make those kinds of things. Or if she makes pancakes, they're going to be a box mix. So you really want to consider having some baking powder on your shelf so that you can make those quick breads, but also check the best by date. So I thought that was quite interesting. So there's that. So I do have plenty of baking powder, but some of them, the best by date is long gone, or at least several months gone. So there's that. Item number 4 was baking soda. And whereas I have this box of baking soda, you can come in, I got your food in the microwave. Hubby's got to get something to eat now. He just came in from making groceries on the water, so now I got to get him something to eat. So I put his dinner in the microwave. So I have this box of baking soda in my spice pantry. It's probably about 1/3 full now. I've been using out of it, so it's mostly gone. This is the other box that I've got on my shelf. In the container where I keep those kind of things, there's no more baking soda in there. I've been using a lot of baking soda in cleaning, in laundry. If I really want to whiten some things, I might put, or soften, I might put baking soda in the wash. I've been cleaning out my drains in the bathrooms, and I use baking soda for that. When I worked on this kitchen drain, I used baking soda for that. So I've been using a lot of baking soda. So as Granny Karma says, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. Well, here's my 2, but my 1 is almost empty. So I need to pick up some more baking soda. The other thing is the use by date. And both of these, the use by date is fine. So I'm good with that. Oh, so now the question is, what do you need baking soda for? And so I want to ask you guys out there, first of all, do you have baking powder and baking soda on your shelf? Let me know in the chat, or if you're on the replay, let me know in the comment section. And then, do you have baking soda? And if you've got baking soda, what do you use your baking soda for? Do you use it just for baking? Do you use it for cleaning as well? And why do you need baking soda and baking powder? Well, you use baking soda when you're using an acidic type food or an acidic type something in your baking. For example, if you're using buttermilk, sour milk, sour cream, yogurt, those kinds of things, then you'll need to tend to add some baking soda in that to help with the rise. And also it does something with the acid. I'm not sure what. You can watch Mary's video and she'll talk about all of that. But I just know when I'm making biscuits and buttermilk cornbread and different things like that, you need a little baking soda as well as your baking powder. So that's why you need both baking powder, because you don't necessarily need that when you're doing like buttermilk and those kinds of things. But when you're making buttermilk biscuits, buttermilk pancakes, those kinds of things, you do need baking soda in those. So how many of you got the baking soda on your shelf? Let me know in the comments or let me know in the chat. And remember, I can't see it from over there. So once I go through all the items, I'll come over, take a seat, and then I'll be able to see what you guys are talking about. All right. There were a couple of little pieces of cornbread in the pantry. Now, item number 5 was dry malt powder. I was like, dry malt powder? That was something that I was not familiar with, so I don't have any of that on my shelf. Usually when I'm thinking of malt, I think about either malt balls, not malt balls, but malted milk, malted balls, those little candies that you can buy in a box, and that malt liquor that people drink. So I really didn't know what you use malt for. And it's something you can use in baking. I don't have any of it, but from her explanation, I'm thinking maybe I'll buy some and give that a try. She says that this dry malt powder helps make your yeast, your wild yeast, to rise somewhat. Like if you're making sourdough bread and those kinds of things, it helps to make it to rise, helps give a better crumb on the bread, that kind of thing. So I guess I'll have to order some. So there's that. But didn't have any of that on my shelf. How many of you have some dry malt powder? Tell me that in the comment section or in the chat. Who has dry malt powder? I'd really like to know, because I was like, what you talking about, Willis? So didn't know about that. So item number 6 was cornstarch, tapioca powder or flour, and arrowroot. So that was a category of thickeners. Cornstarch, tapioca flour, and arrowroot. I think I'd heard of arrowroot because I'd taken one of Kadia's at her Healthy Homes herbal classes, and she talked about arrowroot on one of those, but I really wasn't familiar with it. The only thing that I had was cornstarch, and I've only got this one. And the best by date on it is March of 2022. So one of the things that I realized is, one, I have not been doing a good job of following up and checking on my best by dates. And 2, I've been using from my prepper pantry, my extended pantry. So I've been using some of the things that I've been putting by, and now I need to start being more active, more aggressively active in putting some more things on the shelf. But I definitely need to pick up some more of this. Now, what do we use cornstarch for? Well, again, it's as a thickener. If you need to thicken up, you can use it as a thickener in soups and stews and different things like that. You can use it to make gravy if you need to. I will typically use flour for those kinds of things. I have also used mashed potato flakes as a thickener. For example, if I made a stew or a soup and the broth is a little bit thinner than I want, and I want to thicken it up a little bit or add a little bit of nutrients, I might stir in a couple of tablespoons of mashed potato flakes, and that'll thicken it up nicely and add a little bit more nutrient and just a little bit more hearty. But the cornstarch was the only one that I had. The tapioca flour, I've not even seen that. Now, I have used tapioca pudding to make pudding as a dessert for myself, for my family, because we ate tapioca pudding all the time when I was a kid. But I've never seen the tapioca flour. So I would be very interested in picking up some of that. And she said tapioca flour is really good to use. So I was thinking that last peach cobbler that I made, and it was just so juicy, I would have liked to have thickened it up a little bit. So maybe the tapioca flour would have helped that. So I will look into getting some tapioca flour. The arrowroot flour, I'll probably just pass on that. But she did talk about some of the effects of the arrowroot flour. It's really good for digestion. And if you have a very tender stomach, that you can make like arrowroot biscuits, which are kind of like a little cookie or something like that, that is really helpful for digestion. And I was not familiar with that perspective. So I don't know, maybe I'll try it. We'll see. I'll probably buy the tapioca flour before I buy the arrowroot flour, but I'll let you guys know when I get some of that stuff. So there's that. Oh, and the other thing she said was that the arrowroot flour can serve as a backup to your all-purpose flour. So who knew? So maybe I will try some of the arrowroot flour because you can use it in place of your all-purpose flour. So there's that. Now, Item number 7, or rather category number 7 was salts. And I thought that was quite interesting. So I looked at the salts that I have. These are the salts that I have. I've got a box of kosher salt, and it's the coarse kosher salt. And my husband uses a lot of this when he's processing his fish. As a matter of fact, he'll probably use the rest of this tomorrow when he gets the fish all cleaned and processed and all that. He'll use this box up. I don't have another one. So again, one is none. When he uses this, we won't have any. So kosher salt is going on the list. This just happens to be the coarse kosher salt. He will also use the fine ground, whichever one's in there, that's the one he'll use, but there's that. The other salt that you talked about that's really flavorful and we should all have is sea salt. So I've got a box of Morton natural sea salt. Well, here's the thing. Oh, and she also mentioned we should also have iodized salt in our pantry, just in case we get into a situation where we're not able to get the iodine that we need in the diet. It protects the thyroid. Well, here's the thing. I live in Indiana. We have a iodine poor soil. So we always use iodized salt in this area. Now, if you're canning or pickling, you don't want to use iodized salt because I think it turns it brown or it affects it in some way. So you don't use iodized salt in canning. You use kosher salt, that kind of thing. But I realized I don't have any iodized salt. When I used the last box and I picked this box up, at the time I was just looking for sea salt. I didn't realize that I didn't have any more iodized salt. So I'm going to have to add that to my list. And she did talk about the need for iodized salt in your iodine poor areas if you don't have access to a lot of seafood or canned seafood and things like that. Well, just to share a story with you guys, I have a friend who moved here from New Jersey, and I mentioned to her that she should use iodized salt. And she said, what on earth for? Because, of course, she didn't use that. And I said, well, you need it to help protect your thyroid. And if you don't, it can cause some thyroid dysfunction. You might end up with like goiter or something like that. She said, what's a goiter? Never heard of that. Well, I want you guys to know she did end up having to have surgery on her thyroid. She did end up with goiter. And not trying to say I told you so, but just saying that because of this area that we live in, most of us know you have to use iodized salt. So she did make that transition, but again, it was after she realized that there were some health benefits or some health detriments that was occurring as a result of that. So there's that. So I need to pick up some iodized salt. How many of you have iodized salt in your pantry? Let me know in the comment section or in the chat who's got iodized salt and who doesn't have any. The other salt you talked about was like the Himalayan sea salt, and this is the only Himalayan salt that I have. It's this little pink salt. And the only reason I have this is I got it from my sister. She was clearing out her pantry and she didn't need it. So she gave me this to try it. And I have a difficult time figuring out, well, what am I supposed to do with this pink salt? So if you guys can let me know, what are you putting this pink Himalayan salt on? And this is the coarse salt, so I have to, grind it, that kind of thing. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. But there's that. Let's see if there's any notes that I mentioned. Let's see. I already mentioned that the sea salt gives a really good flavor. She talked about ferments and needing some salts for that. But I don't think you want the iodine salt with the fermenting process. I'm not sure about that. So watch her video and she'll clear all that up. But I don't make fermented vegetables and ferments other than vinegar. So that's not something that I have to be concerned about. So, but I do need to figure out what to do with this pink salt. So you guys can let me know that. Item number 8 is sugar. Now I got plenty of sugar. So I mostly use white sugar. I know I'm moving to a non-processed food kitchen, but I use a lot of white sugar in most of my stuff. White sugar. I also have some brown sugar, and I have some confectioner sugar. So confectioner sugar I use for icing and stuff like that. I suppose you could use white sugar to make a frosting or some kind of sweet to top a cake if you needed to. But and you could make your own brown sugar with molasses and white sugar if you needed to. But I have these things on my shelf and I keep them here. I've probably got about 3 bags of this confectioner sugar, 3 or 4. And I think I've only got 2 bags of the brown sugar because I've been using it. So I need to pick up a couple more bags of brown sugar. I've got several bags of white sugar, so I'm good with that. But keeping in mind that as I use these things, I need to replace them. So how many of you have confectioner sugar as well as brown sugar on your list? And then there were some other sweeteners that she suggested. And she talked about natural sweeteners, such as something she calls succonet, which is like the dried cane sugar. I've never used that. And she's talked about it so much, she's making me think maybe I ought to give it a try. But she did mention date sugar, and I did buy some of that. Haven't tried it yet, but I did buy some. So I'm going to try to do some baking and see what I could come up with that. I've got some coconut sugar. And again, I picked that up based upon her recommendations. And then honey, I always have on hand. And I've got the raw honey. And one of the things about honey is if you use local honey, it can help with allergies. Because if you use the raw honey, well, if you use the honey that's local to your area, it's going to have the different, will have been made from the different pollens and things that are indigenous to your area. So it does help reduce allergies. So there's that as a sweetener. And then, of course, molasses. Interesting enough, I never cared for the taste of molasses. And she talked about her mom giving her molasses in milk and using molasses to kind of help boost your iron because it is, has some iron properties associated with that. There's this syrup called alga syrup that I always hated. And a lot of people from the South like it. Well, it turns out alga syrup is made with molasses. And that's why I don't like it, because of their really strong flavor. However, molasses is good in baking certain things. So there's that. So I do have molasses. I usually have a small jar, and this is the only jar of molasses that I have. I just emptied one not too long ago, but it had been in my, probably been up in the pantry for over 10 years, and there's only about that much left, so I just threw it out. Because I figured it was definitely outdated and almost dried up. But this one, Best Buy 10, 13, 20. And you can see how much is left in here. So, smells okay. Smells like alga syrup. Now I got my fingers sticky. Hang on. So, yeah. And then the honey. I got the honey from a local beekeeper that makes honey at a fair that I had gone to. We got a couple of really good local honey keepers or beekeepers here. So there's the sugar. Hey, honey, can you turn the TV down just a little bit? I don't want to get a copyright strike for the TV being on. All right, so there's that. Now, item number 9, which I thought was pretty interesting, was various extracts like vanilla extract. And so I looked to see what I had, and I had several. And she mentioned that the various extracts are good to be used in baking. And she has a video that shows you how you can make your own vanilla extract with vanilla beans and that kind of thing. So I've got this large bottle of Watkins vanilla extract, and then I've got a couple small bottles of that, and that's pure vanilla extract. I've got this bottle of imitation vanilla extract, which works just fine, and it's all I used to buy. When we were at home, all we had at home was imitation vanilla extract. I didn't know you could buy the real thing. And it wasn't until I was married with children, almost out of the house, that I started buying the pure vanilla extract because it costs quite a bit more. So tell me in the comment section or in the chat, how many of you use pure vanilla extract or use imitation vanilla extract? Let me know. I went to the Dominican Republic for a mission trip, and we were able to buy real vanilla extract there at a really, really low price. So I brought that home. It was so good. It's like all I buy now is the real thing. So I've had this imitation for a while. I probably should take a look at the best by date, but because I rarely use it because I use that. And then other extracts that I had was some pure orange extract, and I use this when I'm baking. And then this imitation butter. It's not a butter extract, but I use it when I'm making Blue Skies sweet potato recipe, candied sweet potatoes. This is imitation cherry extract. I have had this bottle, I'll bet you 10 years. I'll bet you I've had this maybe even 15 years. You can tell how old it is by the label, so it probably should be discarded. And then a bottle of pure lemon extract that I know I bought recently, so I've got that. But the extracts are really good for baking. And you can probably also use them to flavor some drinks and different things like that. So there's that. All right. So how many of you have extracts other than vanilla? Like who has an orange extract or the cherry extract that I had that's 50 years old, probably, that kind of thing? Let me know in the chat or in the comment section. And then are you looking in your pantry to see if you have these things? Or if you're not and you're just sitting and listening, tomorrow when you've got some time, check out your pantry and see whether or not you've got some of these items. Okay, item number 10 I thought was a lot of fun. And item number 10 is dry seasoning. So I got a bunch of those out. And one of the things that I've been encouraging my homemakers, particularly my young homemakers, to do is grow some of their own herbs so that they can save some money that way. And then she even talked about some of the different seasonings and spices you should have. And the nice thing about your seasonings is that you can really zhuzh up a dish. So one of the things that I have right here is a little brown paper bag. And oh, I did short. And I talked about how to dry herbs. But like I'll take a bunch of the herbs and I'll tie a string around them, and then I'll put it in the bag. Then I'll write the date on it, and then I'll like hang it up on a little hook somewhere for a couple of weeks, and then I'll come back and I'll see whether or not it's dry, and then I'll put it in a jar. So here I've got a jar of parsley that I've dried myself, and I'm really pleased with that. This is some dried green pepper, and I tell you what this was. I had gotten some green pepper, I had gotten too many of them, and I put them on my food dehydrator, and I dried them, and then I made some green pepper flakes with that, so that'll be good for seasoning. This one is some cinnamon basil, and I dried this from basil, cinnamon basil that I grew myself. Garlic powder, something that you can purchase. Here is some tea that I made. I used some of the different herbs that I had grown myself. A couple of them I might have purchased when I made this tea, because I attended Kadia's tea making class on live, and that was so much fun. Here's where I had dried some parsley. So there's that. And then one of the things that I'll do is that I will save the jar. So let's say I bought this thyme at McCormick or from the store, and it's McCormick thyme. When I use the thyme up, I save the jar, and then I refill it with my own dried thyme. So both of these jars are dried thyme that I dried myself. Here I dried some sage and then I ground it up. So I am saving on my prepper pantry, and I'm extending my food budget by making some things myself or drying my own herbs. So this was oregano right here. Here I made some Italian seasoning. So that's one of the things that Mary talked about, is that you can use some of your own herbs and spices to make your own seasoning mix. And here I made some Italian seasoning, and then I made some Italian dressing. And then this is garlic pepper seasoning. This is chili powder, which I didn't make. This is something I purchased. And then, of course, ground pepper. But all of these things you can add to your spice pantry staples you need to have. And then these are pepper flakes. So none of these spices are unusual, but they can all help to improve a meal. So there's that. Oh, that's good. He just used that. So some of you may have seen some of these spices, because when I cleaned out my spice pantry and reorganized it the other day, I showed it, and it turned out really nice. And then one of the things that I did later was, some of the McCormick jars, which I love the McCormick jars. So I try to just buy McCormick spices. Some of the McCormick jars, they have black tops, some had green tops. So what I did, I put all the green tops on the bottom. Well, I put them in alphabetical order, first of all. And then I switched the tops around. So I had green on the bottom, black on the next shelf. Yeah, black on the next shelf. And then on the top shelf, it was a mix match, because I didn't have enough to fill up the whole shelf. There's that. Number 11 was vinegars. And she said, definitely you wanted to have some apple cider vinegar, preferably organic apple cider vinegar, raw apple cider vinegar with mother. I don't have that. I looked at my apple cider vinegar. I thought, oh, I've got apple cider vinegar. Well, it's just plain old apple cider vinegar, but it's not with the mother. It's not raw. So there's that. I did, though, make some of my own vinegar. This was, I believe I made this with blueberries. It's either blueberries or strawberries. As dark as it is, I'm thinking this is blueberry vinegar. Mary did a video where she showed how to make your own vinegar with fruit scraps. And so I did make strawberry vinegar. Use that up. I did make apple cider vinegar. I used that up. This one is the blueberry vinegar. And it's definitely vinegar. And I had 2 bottles like this, and then another one like this, and this is what's left of that. But you can make your own vinegars. So there's that. And then, of course, I've got balsamic vinegar that I got at some little fancy vinegar and oil shop. Red wine vinegar that I got at Kroger. This is balsamic vinegar from Kroger. And then, of course, I have white vinegar. Now, white vinegar I use you can make your own salad dressings and different things like that, as I can use these other vinegars for that too. I've used some of the vinegars in cleaning, particularly the white vinegar. I use it in my laundry area. I use the white vinegar to help soften, to help clean, and then I also use it with some Dawn dishwashing liquid and water, and use it as a cleanser in the bathroom and different places like that. So this Heinz vinegar goes in my food pantry. This Kroger vinegar goes in my laundry pantry, but they're probably equally as good. And one thing Mary talked about with the apple cider vinegar was how good it was for you for digestion. And one of the teas that I give my husband in the fall and winter is this blackberry apple cider vinegar. And it's supposed to help to stimulate your digestion and things like that. And she talked about you could even just like have apple cider vinegar like in water, or just take little sips of it. And they've even got some of those Goalie vitamins that have apple cider in them. So I probably should start using more apple cider for medicinal purposes. So there's that. And then item number 12 was oils. And I thought, well, what kind of oils do I have? And she talked about olive oil as the best one to have. And I don't have any. I do have some. Take that back. This is all the olive oil I have left. My husband used the last of it when he fried fish the other day. And I had this in this little jar or this little decanter. So that's the only reason I have this much left. So my olive oil is gone. However, I do have, this looks like about maybe a fifth of a gallon of peanut oil. And then I've got this Crisco canola oil. I've got 2 bottles of this canola oil. But once my husband started using the olive oil, he liked it so much, he didn't want to use it anymore. So I'm like, honey, we've got to use this oil up or it'll go rancid because you can only keep oil for so long. The olive oil is more shelf stable. But, so there's that. And then I also like avocado oil, particularly in my smoothies. I love avocado oil, but this bottle is now empty, so I'm saving the bottle so that I can use it for something else. Because I will save my good bottles to repurpose. And then also, she talked about coconut oil. Well, if you look at this jar of coconut oil, it's just about empty. So I have used it in cooking. I've used it in my hair a couple of times. And my OBGYN also says that it is also useful for intimacy. So for any ladies that are having trouble with that, it's a good natural product that works well for that as well. So those are the oils that I have. Now, I need to get some more olive oil, but we also need to get those oils used up. So we'll be working on that. So those are the 12 items that Mary says every pantry should have. Now, I had a couple ideas of my own of things that I felt like should have been on her list, and I was surprised that it was not. Now, she did talk about dried milk, but she talked about dried milk from the perspective of how her mom used to put different things in it to kind of help her to drink it. I mean, to get her to get the medicine down. And I think that every pantry should have some dry milk. And this is just Kroger non-fat dry milk. This is the Hoosier Hill Farms whole powdered milk. This one is the Hoosier Hill Farms sour cream powder. And this one is the Hoosier Hill Farms buttermilk powder. I think it's good if you can have some of these products on your shelf because you can use them in baking. If you make the dry milk up with your water and refrigerate it so that it's cool, it's pretty palatable that way. You can certainly use it in baking and all that kind of stuff. So I think dry milk is also something that you should have in every pantry. However, you do need to keep in mind the best buy date or the expiration date, which I've not always done a good job of. And the Hoosier Hill Farm is like right here, local, so it's not that far away. And then another one is this one, and it's JudysGlutenFree.com, and it's dry milk that you can get with that, and also dry eggs. I think those should be on your pantry. Here they are over here. Those should be on your pantry shelf. So I think dry milk is a pantry staple that everyone should have. Who's got dry milk on their shelf? Let me know. And then another one that is actually quite good to use is these whole dried eggs. Because if you don't have fresh eggs, you can always use this. Now, there is a best buy date. They're not going to be as shelf stable as some of the other items, but they work pretty good. They're a little pricey, but they do work well. And I know on Mary's list, she was only wanting to use those things that were really shelf stable for long periods of time, but I think you should add these to your list of things to have. And then I've got a couple, these are a few other things. Other things that I really think you ought to have on your shelf, cream of wheat. I think you've got to have a few boxes of cream of wheat on your shelf because you can use that as a cereal and also as a food. If you need to, like, you can feed cream of wheat to a baby. Now, they do need to be at least a good 6 or 8 months old because you don't want to introduce wheat too soon and they end up with a wheat allergy. But cream of wheat is one of those comforting foods. My grandkids ask me to make it every time they come. I make it with a lot of butter and brown sugar. We call it porridge. Their dad is always like, Mom, that's an awful lot of sugar. Mom, that's an awful lot of butter. I'm like, look, they come here once or two or three times a year, and that's how I make it. But I think cream of wheat is good because you can use it as cereal, as a breakfast food, and as a comfort food if someone's not feeling well. How many of you have cream of wheat in your pantry? Let me know. Drop it in the chat. So I think that's a good one to have. The other item you need to have, I think, is cornmeal. Yellow cornmeal preferably. White cornmeal might keep longer. You might want to have both. But I think you should have some cornmeal so you can make cornbread, corn muffins, Johnny cakes, and different things like that. Polenta. There's all kinds of things you can do with cornmeal that I think can help to feed your family and stretch your food budget. So as you look at what kind of things to add to your prepper pantry, your four quarters pantry, your extended pantry, whatever you call it, I'm thinking cornmeal should be on that list as well as cream of wheat. Now here's something too that I think you should have, and that's grits. Grits you can have for breakfast, you can have it for lunch, you can have it for dinner. If that's all you got to eat is the grits, grits will fill you up. Add a little butter and sugar, and you've got a nice little cereal or a side for dinner or lunch. People in the South like their grits with salt and pepper, maybe cheese, that kind of thing. I think grits is a staple that you should have. And if any of you have recently seen the movie where the crawdads sing, the main character cooked a lot of grits. And when she was a little girl by herself, she cooked a lot of grits because that was what she knew how to cook early on. And then that was all she could afford to cook. So she cooked a lot of grits. If you missed that, if you have not seen that movie where the crawdads sing, you should. It's an excellent movie. And then once you watch the movie, get the audiobook. I've got a link in the description box for Audible where you can listen to it for free and get a couple other books as well if you just to giving it a try. So and I listen to audio. I'm on audiobooks all the time. So grits, and then I think Hershey's cocoa. Well, some kind of cocoa powder is something you also need to have because if you need to make a sweet, you need to make a treat. I think it's nice to have some cocoa powder so that you can make some kind of a chocolatey thing. So those are the things that I think people need to have. So let me just see what I missed. If you've joined us late, I am talking about the 12 pantry items you should never run out of. And this is part of my lessons that I've learned from YouTube creators. And the YouTube creator that I'm learning from this week is Mary at Mary's Nest. I will link her video in the description box so that you can check her out and you can see the 12 things and get more information from her because she's much more knowledgeable about some of those things than I am. And then I added some things on my own. What do you think should be added to the list that Mary nor I thought put on the list? Now, again, we're looking at shelf stable or mostly kind of a things that you'll want in your pantry that you can use to make other foods with. So there's that. All right, so now I'm going to come over there. So I'm going to walk around now so that I can see, there you go, what you guys have. I know my husband came in and saw all this stuff. He was probably like, what the heck? One time when I was getting out all this stuff to do a show, he was like, what are you doing? Because I'm going to have to put all this stuff away. And it's a lot. It is a lot. But, all right. So now let's see. What happened here? What did I do? I don't know. Oh, sorry. I was scared for a second there. All right. So I got a message from Blue Skies, and she says that Lovey says I forgot butter. Well, you know, butter is not a pantry item per se. Butter is a refrigerate. You know what? Let me back up for a second. So when I looked at the list that Mary had that talked about fats, she had shelf-stable fats, and she did talk about ghee, which is some kind of a clarified butter, and that was in the oil category. So I forgot about that. So yeah, but now regular butter that goes in the fridge, that was not on the list, but more like a clarified butter, unless I just missed it and overlooked it. But okay, so we've got that. Let's see. So now let me go through and see what we've got here, because you guys have been chatting it up over there. Let's see. And I want to thank you guys for jumping on tonight too. I'm not going to go through and just greet everybody because there's too many people here. So, okay. So, I will say though that Cooking at Pam's Place jumped on tonight, and I am so glad she's here. I watched her video yesterday, and she was making some fried potatoes that are really crisp, and I thought, wow, they look pretty good. I have to give those a try. So let's see. I'm glad you guys could hear me okay, because I was trying to use my new lavalier mic, but I couldn't get it to work. But yeah, excuse me. Those were just two of the fish that he got. You should see the whole big cooler full of fish that he has. I mean, he really got quite a few fish, so he'll be working on those tomorrow. So Muato is making fish hush puppies and French fries for dinner tonight. Okay. And someone here from Nairobi, she loves anything regarding prepping. Thank you. All right, so people are liking the fish, so that's good. So Lurker Smurf says baking soda, and they do rotate the dates since they use it quite a bit to clean the kitchen. And see, that was it. I've been using so much baking soda that I'm down to 1 1.25 box. So you guys know what that is. Hey, Will, Ronnie Weaver's husband said that's a pretty good looking fish. So she probably had him come over to look. So Mary Beth, yes, I use baking soda. You can use it to soften, but particularly if you buy, let's say you buy a new sheet set and you want to soften them, or if you want to whiten, you can use baking soda in the wash for that purpose. So Water Bucket Homestead said there was a period where baking soda was sold out at her Kroger. So that's something to think about. But yes, baking soda is really good for cooking, cleaning, and also reducing odors, which is why I use it in the wash as well. Let's see. Oh yeah, Vicki, you got to get some baking soda. You need to have both of those items. So if you want to make buttermilk biscuits, buttermilk cornbread, different things like that, anything with sour cream and those kind of things, you tend to use baking soda for those. Oh yes, and Pam at Pam's Place mentioned you can also use baking soda for toothpaste and for indigestion. I forgot about that. When I was a little girl, my grandmother used to make soda water for my grandpa when he had indigestion, and so the baking soda helped to settle his stomach. And if you think about it, Alka-Seltzer and those kinds of things are kind of a soda kind of thingy. But yeah. Let's see what else. But yeah, baking soda for odors. Oh yes. Lurker talked about using baking soda to clean the garbage disposal. And I did a video on one of my 15-minute tasks where I had used baking soda to clean the garbage disposal. So yes, you do. So Brandy uses baking powder in your laundry. Are you using baking powder in your laundry? Hey, honey, could you give me a glass of water? I have it right over there. Are you using baking powder in your laundry, or are you using baking soda in your laundry? Let us know about that. Oh, and Lurker has Ovaltine. You know what? That is not something I've ever really used much of. I don't think I've ever bought that. Let's see. So yes, Levy says there's several things that she needs to get. Oh, you're welcome. You are quite welcome, Pam. Guys, and Pam, Cooking with Pam, this is her first day to join us. So if you guys can all greet her, say hi to her, and make her feel welcome. I forgot to say that earlier. Dry malt powder. That was new to me too. So I'm going to have to talk to Mary about that, because that's not something I'm familiar with at all. So I don't have any of that. Okay. So if you found some things you need to get on your shelf, please pick those up. So Dila says the topic is timely and needs to start pre-fall pantry prepping and restocking on Saturday. Not only that, but pre-fall pantry prepping, but also pre-holiday pantry prepping, because we just don't know. As they say, winter is coming. For all of my Game of Thrones fans, winter is coming, and we don't know what winter is going to look like. It is thought that there will be a shortage of various vegetables and things like that, because the foods that are in the store now were from the early spring or last year. The things that'll be in the store in the winter and in the spring will be what comes in this spring, rather this summer and fall. And right now things aren't coming in quite as well as they usually do. So you want to start prepping and planning ahead. So Vicky said she had never heard of the dry malted powder either. So, oh, Mickey Blue Skies used to buy malt powder for shakes. Well, you know what? I used to get, like, you could get malts and things like that at the soda fountains. But I never, and then like those malted milk balls and things like that, but I never were able to see that. Lovely's laughing at me when I said, what you talking about, Willis? Yes. So Ronnie uses baking soda for baking and cleaning. She's got that. People need to get cornstarch. Let's see. So Water Bucket, what is your name? We like to call each other by name here. So what is your name? And you said you're a fan of Himalayan salt, but I don't know what to do with it. Like, I'm like, well, what do I do with this Himalayan salt? I don't know. And then Nicole at Nesting Haven says she likes Celtic sea salt or Redmond salt. So I use the sea salt in cooking and things like that as usual. But I haven't been using my iodized salt as much lately, so I got to get some more of that. So, but like that pink salt, I'm like, what do I do with it? I don't know. So Lurker says she uses iodized salt, but since she eats low sodium, she doesn't use it a lot. A lot of people have that sea salt and the Himalayan salt. Yeah, you know, MJ, people that live on the East Coast where there's a lot of seafood, that they can get seafood locally just very easily, a lot of them don't use iodized salt. They don't need to, because iodine is, you know, it's just abundant in the soil, in the foods that they get, in the seafood and all that kind of stuff. Vicky says they need to stop up on some kosher and sea salt, and she would like to try the pink Himalayan salt. I don't know what to do with it. So Yvonne says she has 7 containers of iodized salt on hand, and that's probably good. And she saw another prepper that said that you need to have several containers, and you do. The one thing about the sea salt and some of the other salts, they don't have caking agents in them. So sometimes they might get a little bit hard or get kind of blocky. Whereas your iodized salt, typically that doesn't happen there. And this one, it's got like a little bit of a lump in the bottom of it because it doesn't have a caking agent in it. And I must have had it sitting too long. Yeah, and Nicole says if you make your own jelly, sugar is a must. And yeah, jelly takes a lot of sugar. And it's almost peach season, so I want to make some peach jelly. So Lily just uses sweet and low. I don't like artificial sweeteners. So Water Bucket said she uses Pioneer sugar made in Michigan. She does keep powdered sugar for peanut butter balls, for Buckeyes, and honey for all other things. So yeah, except for canning peaches. Okay. Yeah, I like brown sugar in my oatmeal and things like that too. I don't have any real maple syrup. And that is one of the things when Mary talked about sweeteners, she did talk about having real maple syrup or maple sugar. And maple syrup is so expensive. The last time I bought some, you have to keep it in the fridge once you open it. And then I think I didn't use it quick enough and it spoiled and had to throw it out. And I was just sick because maple syrup is very expensive. So I haven't even seen any maple sugar. But she says they mainly use maple syrup for their sweeteners, but they do have brown sugar and basic sugar for baking and canning needs. Vicky needs more granulated sugar. Oh yes, I love honey and hot tea. So when I make my husband's tea in the morning, I always put a big teaspoon of honey in it. So Lisa uses iodized salt, brown sugar, white sugar. So she uses a lot of it. So she's got everything covered. You can learn how to make your own vanilla from Mary at Mary's Nest. She's got a video where she shows you how to do that. And I've already got her channel linked in the description box, so you can go to her channel and find the vanilla on how to make your own vanilla extract. A lot of people definitely have got their own, have pure vanilla extract. The Watkins vanilla extract I got at, believe it or not, Menards. Menards always carries the Watkins products. A lot of their spices, their herbs, and their vanilla extract. You can get it at Menards. So Limitless, I forgot what you told me your name was. Tell me again. But you know, when we were at home, we just used imitation vanilla extract. Heck, there were 6 of us. My mom and dad weren't spending money on real vanilla extract. We just used imitation. That was all I knew to use until I got my own family and started buying my own groceries. And then every now and then I would just maybe buy the real one. But once I bought that real vanilla extract in the Dominican, I thought, okay, I can't go back. So yeah. Gail said I might have saved her thyroid. I don't know if that Himalayan salt has iodine in it or not. I really don't know. I don't know much about it. But since it's Himalayan sea salt, it might have iodine in it, but I don't know. So a lot of you are only using real vanilla extract. Yeah. Lavender. Oh, lavender extract. Now, I haven't thought of that. I got some lavender growing outside, too. I'm going to have to figure out what I can make with that. Coconut, almond, and then butter rum. There's almond butter you can make, but that's not like a fat like that. It's more like a peanut butter. Hey, Kate. Good to have you jump on. It's always good to see you. Oh, she makes a lavender cake. Oh, okay. That sounds good. So Blue Skies is out of all of her extracts. Likely she needs to, because she hasn't been baking much. Nesting Haven just harvested garlic and is trying to dehydrate it and make their own garlic powder this year. It never dawned on her before she could make her own. I've got some onions growing, but they haven't started to push up out of the ground yet. So we'll see. The stems are nice and long, but I'm not seeing the bulbs yet. So Lovely says she likes seasoning and all herbs and types depending on what she's cooking and craving. So Patricia has almond extract along with vanilla, lemon, and brandy extract. I've got 2 little tiny bottles of brandy, like little tiny bottles of peach brandy for when I want to make another peach cake. But I don't have any brandy extract. Oh, Christmas cookie extracts and sprinkles. All right. So water bucket again. What's your name? Minimal collection of dry herbs and spices. Yeah, I'm pretty good with that. My spice cabinet is pretty full. Iris Joy has lemon, coconut, and almond extract. So a lot of you guys have a lot of different kinds. So that's pretty good. Okay, I think we got a troll on. So let me block that user. Okay, well oh wait, let me get that off. We'll do that. Oh, I can plant more garlic in the fall. Okay, I'll try it. I'll try to plant some more to see about that. I think I just gotta. Oh, so water bucket is Laura. Okay. Water bucket is Laura. Blue Sky said she needs a large bottle of taco seasoning. You know, I've been making my own taco seasoning, but I usually would buy the little packets, but lately I've been just finding a recipe online and just putting together the spices, because most of the stuff that you put in it, I probably have in the pantry, but maybe I should just put together a big jar of taco seasoning. When I do, I'll give you some. So Laura at Water Bucket Homestead says she uses apple cider vinegar for consuming and cleaning. Okay. She got hers handmade from an apple orchard. Good. I've heard of Bragg's apple cider vinegar too. Yeah, you can put apple cider vinegar in greens when you're cooking them. It helps to break them down. And Nicole, we use a lot of garlic too, so that would be a real money saver if you can make your own garlic powder. And yeah, you said you'd like to know where your food comes from. So I didn't plant any garlic, but I did plant some onions and some shallots. So we'll see what comes up. I've got the stems, but so far the bulbs haven't popped up. Patricia's got the different vinegars from Kroger. Oh, the white distilled vinegar, cleaning and canning pickles. Yeah, I like fresh garlic. Okay. Blue Skies likes extra virgin olive oil. Oh, grapeseed oil. I think grapeseed oil is pretty good. What I don't remember is what's the heat index on that grapeseed oil? Because my husband is always concerned about, does it withstand enough heat that he can fry his fish in? It's got to have a certain heat index or something like that. I don't know much about grapeseed oil though. Coconut oil for high heat, olive oil for colder heat. Okay. Blue Skies used to use grapeseed oil for her hair, but she never used it for cooking. So several people use grapeseed oil. Okay. Ronnie uses coconut oil to remove makeup. It's good for that as well. Avocado oil has a high smoke point, but it's so expensive. I like to use it in smoothies. If he's going to just fry stuff, I'm like, you can use something else. Don't use my avocado oil for that. Grapeseed oil is good when you want a neutral taste, says Laura. So that's nice to know. Now, Lurker Smurf says she keeps Nido powdered milk. It has soy in it, so it's not for everyone. Nido is a powdered milk that a lot of Latinos use. And you can find it at Kroger, but it'll be in the Hispanic food section so often, or it might be also on the milk shelf, but down in a certain little area. And it does have soy in it, so that's just something to keep in mind. Yeah, most of the stuff that I've had, like the dry eggs and the powdered milk and all those things, you can get them on Amazon. I think I've got them in my Amazon store. If not, I'll put them in there. Probably not till in the morning, but I'll get them in there. Hey, Linda, it's good to have you join us. Nice to have you here. Guys, the New Orleans gardener is on. She's a gardener extraordinaire. You guys will love her channel if you're into gardening. So, you know what, Linda? I don't have any shelf-stable milk. I've used it all up. So I did have about 12 boxes of shelf-stable milk, but over time, I've been eating from my pantry and I've used it all up and I've not replaced it. And the last time I went to the store, I was going to look for it and then I forgot, so I didn't get any. But the powdered milk, I do have that. So if you don't have any powdered milk for your pantry shelf, you should think about getting some of that in. So Nicole said they have chickens, but you should get in some dried milk. Never used it before. It does not taste the same as cow's milk. It's not really artificial tasting. It's more thin. It's thinner tasting, but it's more palatable if you make it up and then refrigerate it so that it's cold. It's more palatable when it's cold. Some people just don't like it, but you know. Laura says no cream of wheat for her. Cream of wheat's delicious, but yes, definitely add cream of wheat to your list. I have oatmeal as well as cream of wheat, and you can use oatmeal. You can make your own oat flour with oatmeal by grinding it up with like a food processor. You can make cookies, you can make muffins and all kinds of things. So oatmeal is probably another staple. And I forgot to mention that I've got, you know what? I was going to say I've got a bunch of oatmeal in there, but I thought, no, I don't. I had a big box of oatmeal that I got at Costco's and we used it up. And so I've got a couple half-gallon jars of oatmeal in my pantry, but you know, then I'm out. So I need to get some more oatmeal. So Linda says she's got some powdered milk as well. You know, I've not tried making my own oat milk, but I usually have a lot of oatmeal. I have to give that some thought. See, now I'm not bad about cream of wheat. The cream of wheat is a guilty pleasure. Yes. She says she doesn't have it often, but with butter, toast, and some sugar, she used to love it as a kid. I tell you what, Nicole, cream of wheat is definitely a comfort food. So if you've got someone that's sick, not feeling well, make some cream of wheat. It's really good for them. It's nice and hearty. I add butter and brown sugar to the cream of wheat. You can use white sugar, but brown sugar is a little better. And my grandkids love it. Whenever they come, it's like, Grandma, can you make porridge? And I'll make it for them. Let's see. So Ronnie says, she's talking to Nicole, that some people say that dry milk tastes as good as whole fresh milk, but you know, it just depends upon what you're using it for and what you're used to. Patients said they eat grits instead of cream of wheat. When I was a kid, we mostly ate cream of wheat. I didn't really get grits until I was probably in high school. And then my husband's family used to eat grits a lot. Now we eat grits quite a bit. So I'll have grits and I'll have cream of wheat. So we have both. So people now are talking about the buttermilk. The one problem with me not being able to look at the chat as we go along is that I'm kind of behind now. But yeah. So people do like grits. They like cream of wheat. Some just have one over the other. But Laura says she does have cocoa powder in her pantry. I definitely think you need to have some of that. Yes, definitely need cocoa powder in your pantry. And yeah, butter. As someone said earlier, butter is a must. And then almond butter and jams. That's true too. I've got jams on my shelf and I didn't bring those out. And I was just looking at Mary's particular video and she was looking at pantry staples. So I think that like your butters and your jams and your almond butters, like peanut butters and those things, those are nice to have things, but they're probably not as needed as your flour and your sugar and those things. So that's probably why they weren't on this particular list. So Laura says no grits for her. Well, I was born right here in Indiana. Like I said, I didn't have grits until I was probably in high school. So, and I like them. Oh, Blue Skies, listen to what Ronnie said. I need a shirt that says, so there's that. Well, we'll see. I just might do that. So Lovely says, do I like the powdered eggs? She hasn't eaten them since she was a girl. I've used the powdered eggs to make French toast. I've used them in baking. I did scramble them one time and they were okay. I wasn't in love with them, but you know, if you don't have anything else, they'll work. Okay. Maple syrup, as Nicole says, is expensive, but they tap their own trees. Oh, wow, that's kind of nice. House of Husbandry. Thank you so much for joining us. She's glad to be on the chat live. She uses both sea salts and a little iodized salt. Sea salts are great for minerals, and you are quite welcome. Hey, Cal, I haven't seen you for a while. Oh, Junior Scott, lavender ice cream. I'm going to have to do something with my lavender. So Rosemary says she doesn't think that the sea salt has iodine. It's got to be purposefully added by the salt manufacturers. That's probably true because this sea salt does not say it has a form of iodine in it. Whereas like this Morton salt right there says does not supply iodine, a necessary nutrient. So I'm guessing that probably this Himalayan pink salt probably does not either. So Linda says baking powder is also good for an upset stomach, but it has a lot of sodium in it and the blood pressure will go up. I know my grandmother used to make soda water for my grandpa, and baking soda has a lot of salt in it as well. So yeah. Oh, she said it's the baking soda. She corrected herself. So brandy extract is good in fruitcake. I haven't made that in a while. And then she just harvested basil, rosemary, parsley, and oregano today. I've got some oregano that I just harvested, and I've got it in a bag. I've got some rosemary that I need to get harvested tomorrow. Let's see. So Lovely wanted to know, do I use apple butter? Yes, I do. I love apple butter. I used to make it. I haven't made any for a while. So Blue Sky says she's got a mature maple tree on the side of her driveway. She should begin tapping it. I don't know if that's the kind of maple tree we can tap. I don't know. Oh, so Laura uses apple cider vinegar in water to clean her produce. So Cal wants to find some burrata seasoning. Cal, I don't know what that is. Does anyone on here know what that burrata seasoning is? And if you do you know where she can find some? So Ronnie uses butter extract when she's making buttercream frosting. Blue Skies uses butter extract when she's making her sweet potatoes, her candied sweet potatoes. But the last time I couldn't find any, so I just got butter flavor. So grapeseed oil does have a high smoke point, so that's good. I'm going to try planting some fall garlic. So Blue Sky says, can't you tap all the maple trees? I don't know. I've not heard about people in our area here in Indiana tapping maple trees. that is something I tended to hear about in other areas. So, I mean, I don't know. Google it and then let me know which you find. And then Lovely wants to know, have I ever used tarragon? I think I used tarragon like maybe twice for a particular recipe. I do have some tarragon on my spice shelf. Can't remember what I used it for, but it's not something that I use very often. And so Laura says, what do you use with apple butter? You put it on toast, like jam or jelly. It's like a real thick, dark brown jam. And you spread it on toast. It's really good on biscuits. It's kind of a spicy, it's delicious. And apple season in Indiana is in the fall. So we have apple season starting around September, maybe late August and early September. And so people will be making apple cider, apple jam, apple jelly, and apple butter. Someone wanted to know, is there a such thing as black molasses? And I don't know if there is black molasses. What I do know is there is a brand of molasses called black strap molasses. And it's just dark because it has a lot of iron in it. So that's why it's dark. So there's that. But people use it in baking and then as an iron supplement and things like that. Oh, burrito seasoning. You should probably be able to find that in the Hispanic section. And then Blue Skies is answering the question about the apple butter. Yeah, it's really good. So Laura said she works in an apple orchard in September and October and can't wait. All right. Oh, well, guys, we've been on for a while, and I tell you what, this was fun. I love these sessions where I can just kind of show you guys a bunch of different things and then just kind of sit and chat with you guys after. So I'm glad we were able to do this tonight. And it looks like the Wednesday night lives are working out quite well. So we'll probably keep them on Wednesdays for a while, and we'll see how that works. And for those of you that joined us late, we were talking about the 12 pantry items you should definitely have in your prepper pantry. And then we were looking at whether or not I had them and whether or not you have them. And so check that out. And I was jumping off from the video that Mary at Mary's Nest had just done recently about pantry items to never run out of. So I've linked her video in the description box so that you can check her out as well, because she's got lots of information about that. And also just keep in mind that we've got in the new aprons we've got in, and we plan to be Christmas apron central. So if you're looking for a Christmas apron, you definitely want to check us out at aprondiva.com. Right now we only have 2, but we've got to get the photos for the other ones up. We'll have lots of Christmas aprons up for you guys to go from. And oh, Happy Meal. Almost forgot Happy Meal. I got 2 things for Happy Meal. Jerry Barber was on earlier, and then she had to leave. But I had a birthday recently. So look at this really cute birthday card that she sent me. It's like a pop-up. It's like a pot of flowers. And then the note is like written there. And then along with that, she sent me a keychain from Delaware. And then also a t-shirt. So I thought, how nice. Bellevue Farms. And the card is just a reminder that she was thinking of me and saying happy birthday. So that was so nice of her. So I had that. And then the other Happy Meal I got this top 3 notebook from Aaron on Demand. And I heard about it from Miss V, from Savings with Miss V. And she said it was really helping her stay organized. So I ordered one. And so this is the top 3 notebook, top 3 daily priorities. And I've just started using it about 3 days ago. And so like you put your top 3 priorities there, and then you can put other tasks you need to get done and little notes and stuff like that. So I just started using it. So I'll let you guys know how well I am doing with that. So that's my Happy Meal. And then I invite you guys to take a look at my last video, the best way to fight inflation, stretch your food budget with a meatless meal. And I got a lot of good feedback on that one. And I'm working on another meatless meal one for next week. So we'll see how that goes. And then I got a lot of comments about my community tab post where I was like, because I have to start doing shorts. And I got a lot of good ideas from people that left comments there. And I did put up 2 shorts. So check those out as well. So I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.